The Orax Service Delivery Infrastructure is able to manage your inventory and also production department. Because inventory and production goes together very intimately, as production often converts raw material into inventory items and both are contained in the inventory. Production technically manipulates the inventory and it also manipulates your ledgers, so your general ledger. It makes an adjustment on your books, in terms of your assets and your input, and also on your inventory levels. So let's have a quick look, an overview of what the production module does and how it works in Orax SDI. If I click on the production menu, which you have to enable in settings, it's not available by default. You have a few tabs on top of the production management module. The first lists basically an overview, which are all your currently active production orders. To create new orders, you'll use the Create tab, and in here you can either create one using this, and all your pending, let's say those that you are still developing or planning or correcting, will be listed under this tab, and you'll see their status is planned. So you can generate a new production order, tweak it until you're happy, and then activate it, or even queue it and then activate it when you've got the capacity to actually do that. On the third tab, you create templates. So we'll have a look at that just now, because a template is key to effective production order management. A production order basically says use this set of input and assemble it in a specific way using certain steps, and then you end up with a assembled or a produced product. But those steps and that bill of materials that you need in order to produce your specific item is often something that is tweaked over time, and therefore you would want to create a template, something that you don't have to create on the fly every time you need to produce a new item, but that can be used. And so over time your template would be enhanced in order to cater for more specific and more efficient production. So that's why you want to create a template, and then every time you create a production order, you'll be using a specific template and maybe doing a few tweaks on it if that specific order requires it. On your past orders tab, you'll see a list of all your completed production orders, and you can filter through them if needed. You also have your inventory tab. This is just a list of everything that is either raw materials or finished products, and you can manage them on that level if you do have the access. The logging tab is specifically related to production logging. So production orders have two sides. The admin side is where in the office the production order is created with all the detail needed to produce the item. But the logging side is on the factory floor. The operators and the people who produce and complete the steps of the production order, they need to log their input and output of every single step, because if they do that, the system knows the progress and can track the progress of each production order currently in process, as well as have all the analytic and trending data available, so that down the line you can find inefficiencies in your production setup and your production process. So that's very important. If you do not have the logging step, your production orders are technically just admin and have questionable value. So in order to do logging, you will need a production terminal. Those are often a computer or more handy a tablet on the production floor, maybe several, where people who work and in the factory can go log their input. Typically they would log I've taken 3 of these items for that step, and I have now completed 2 of them, something like that. The system also knows, based on that logging, how many failures, what's our failure rate for something, for a specific process. And then finally, the Trends and Reports tab gives us a bit of intelligence, just basic intelligence of what's currently on the floor, what's happening out there, and how are we performing in this area. So if we look at a production order, let's just quickly look at this. This is the overview tab. We can quickly search a production order there, and we can also basically group our current active orders either by customer, by sales order, or by item, which gives us a different view, also helps us to bring things together. And then these sticky type dashboard, whiteboard almost, overview can be hidden or shown there, or even placed on a large TV in the factory floor or anywhere. And what this does, it groups all active production orders by the sales order. So it allows you to bring, you may have 20 production orders against a single sales order, and so the sales order is the large deliverable group. And so this one brings all of those together and gives you an overview of what's the progress on that specific order and where you are in terms of the deadline. So this is often a quick overview that's handy for the sales side and management and those people who are involved in either feedback to the customer or in actually managing the delivery on your factory floor. So if we look at a specific production order, I'm just going to open this sample active order. You will see that it's got a header. We can print it. If we print it, we can paste it up next to the job. It gives us a basic description, and it tells us what to produce. So this says 20 items of this specific item, 20 of those items. This is where the factory is located, or the specific functional area. This is our due date. It's currently in progress. This is our risks. It says we way past deadline, and therefore we have a high risk on this specific order. We currently do not in this sample have a bill of materials. Let's just add something. It's going to add one item in our bill of materials, and it will tell us how many we need, and we don't have anything on hand at the moment. So this is very much on an inventory level. It will tell us our stock levels as well. We can add comments to this specific production order just to some production orders may need a bit of customization, or it's bespoke, and therefore we can add those in here. This will also be inherited from the template. There may be blue plans or kind of pictures attached to this specific order. Now this is on an order level. Down here we can build steps for our production order. So every single step can have a lot of detail and pictures attached to it and be assigned to a specific person even, and that will actually manage most of our production, because we may want to have QA steps and all kinds of steps that ensure we don't forget too much. On this side we see an overview, so it gives us an overview of how many is already completed. This is based on the logging happening real time in the factory floor and the progress of our entire order. There will be detail from the logging down here as steps are completed. We can also issue input stock and receive output stock. So what's important to understand, this process, a production order, is meant to adjust inventory, but it can be handled on a simple metadata level as well. But in most cases, if we're working on a production order, we want to issue the bill of material from the stock into this process. What that will do, it'll remove it from our inventory so that our inventory count stays accurate. And then once we've completed this production order, we want to send the output back to inventory to once again increase our quantity on hand of the finished goods so that sales will know we have stock. And so this process is part of the production process, but technically if you're not going to manage inventory, you can neglect to do this. And then just below this, there are also convenient buttons for you to dispatch directly to a customer. Well, technically you will be dispatching to a customer from stock, but let's assume this we need to create 20 of these items, but it's actually a 3-month process. We may want to dispatch every time we've completed 5, we dispatch them to the customer, and then we can do it conveniently here. Do a goods dispatch. It'll be issued to the inventory guys, and they will then send it off. We can also complete it here. If we're happy and everything is done, we mark it as complete, and we can duplicate this order. So we can, if we do get another order for the same item or we're running low on stock, we can simply duplicate this and tweak the new one. We can also print any labels for this order. So in most cases, when you do create or produce or assemble new items, you may want to have your own barcodes, and you can print those labels in here. You can generate automated barcodes in the inventory module, or enter your barcodes there and print labels, either for this is the label for the item and this is the label for the production order. So if you do have boxes that you want to label so that they can be quickly scanned with a barcode scanner, it can be printed here. And then this is where you see which production steps have been configured against this order. Up here are a bunch of tabs related still to the same production order. So first of all, there's a production detail. You can link it to a customer and a sales order and all kinds of options that you do have here. For instance, you probably need a batch number, and you may need an expiry date depending on what you are assembling or building. There's a due date, attachments, and the completion date can be captured there. The notes and actions are internal notes used by management or for admin reasons just around the specific production order. Also shows you any emails or changes made on this production order. Then the costing tab addresses your actual costing of the production order. So what that means is that your bill of materials have a specific cost to them, your final product have a specific cost to them, and this gives you some information in terms of what kind of margins are you making, based on your production order setup. And it also shows if there's any discrepancies. And the idea is that once you've gained enough intelligence based on this, you can go to your inventory and update your costs for your production item, so that it's very efficient, because variances logged via production order are posted to your general ledger. But if it's those variances are large, it can unnecessarily create almost create issues in your financial system, where you posting and moving money between different accounts unnecessarily, and that can limit visibility in your production process. If you need to schedule systems used in production, you can manage it on the Systems tab. The Stock Levels tab is basically just going to show you what's the level of stock in your inventory around your bill of materials and the finished good of this production order. And finally, you've got a report that gives you a bit of a summary in terms of how much time and effort have you spent per user and per step on this production order, which is handy because you will quickly start to see if there are profitability or other issues in terms of a production order or specific type of item that you're making using that report. So this is one production order. If we look at the reports and trends, this page brings a lot of those individual production order metrics together under one roof and shows you discrepancies and gives you a better overview of what's happening in your entire production department.